Here we go again. So we have another mass shooting. This time it was in a school, elementary school. We know that there were 14, counted so far, 14 students who are deceased, elementary students, and one teacher. Um, we know that the young man was named Salvador. We know he also was confronted by the police and he was, uh, you know, killed. Hmm. So there's something to talk about there. He wasn't apprehended, okay, like the last mass shooter who killed 10 people, shot 12, 10 black people died. Uh, so this guy was not apprehended. He was taken out by the police. And he was carrying a handgun and a rifle. Now, I didn't listen to what they said about where he entered into the school, whether he was already in the school, where the shooting took place, was it in the playground, was it in the classrooms? I don't know if he trench code mafia'd it and went from room to room. I don't know if that happened. I don't know if he chose the victims at random. I don't know any of this because I'm just now hearing about it. So, but there are a lot of channels that are live. You can actually hear about it live right now on YouTube. There are a lot of channels that are open. They're talking about it because, it's still a thing right now. And it happened in Texas. So there's a couple things we can unpack, even though we don't know all of the details. We don't know the whys because, for one, he's not here anymore. He didn't write a manifesto. I doubt if his parents or anybody who is close to him are going to come out and blame it on COVID. El Salvador sounds like he was Hispanic. So I don't remember the last time someone who was Hispanic shot up a school. A bunch of people who had nothing to do with, they didn't know. Usually when, that happens, somebody got caught in the crossfire because there was a beef going on. So like I said, I don't know. I don't know who he had beef with. I don't know if this was something that was, this guy just felt like doing it, because we're finding out that some of these mass shooters have agendas that are hidden for a while until you start talking to people who they know. We don't know what their agenda is. And then some of them come out like, true terrorists and say, this is what this is about. Like the last guy, he had an agenda. He had a manifesto. And according to what he believed that black people were going to replace white people. So he believed that because of a lot of what Fox News is saying. Some very not true and some very true. But I digress. This happened in the state of Texas. So we know that. All right. So let's just do that in the state of Texas, right? So the state of Texas is very you're not going to take the guns out of Texas. You will need a serious army to try to do that. Because Texas loves their guns. That's just that. Everybody's got one. So yeah, it's not the place to go and then try to, get into it with somebody in hand-to-hand combat. You know, you don't want to run up into somebody's house in Texas because people are notorious for having weapons, and the sheriff will tell you, go ahead and, bust their ass if they come up in your house. Gun them down, take their life. If they want to come in your house, take their life. The sheriffs, police, or officers are known for saying this. So this is not a place that you want to go and mess around. And this is the whole state of Texas. Um, so it's like everybody has a weapon. So it doesn't surprise me that I don't know how old Salvador was, but it doesn't sound like Salvador was a full grown adult. Like I said, I don't know. So somebody can correct me on that and say, hey, he was 18, 19, 20, or whatever. You can give me more details. I'm here for it. All right. But when I'm speculating, as a matter of fact, I'm not even going to speculate. I'm going to find out how old Salvador was right now. You guys, I'm not even going to speculate it. Okay, so here's the problem. Here's the problem. Okay, now they're saying it's 18 people and 3 adults. First it was 14, now it's 18 and 3 adults. Some people are saying 18 and 2 adults. But they're definitely saying 18. They're saying 18 people altogether, 3 adults. So I'm sorry, it wasn't 14. Well, this is why you wait for details, because they're still on the scene of this right now. And people are still on the scene right now. Okay. President Biden is also going to speak on this. 18 students and a teacher. It was a deadly issue since 2012 massacre in Connecticut. And a woman leaving the Civic Center where students were transported after shooting at, it was at Robb Elementary in Uvalde, Texas. San Antonio Express News. Okay. So I wanted to find out how old was the shooter. Texas officially said the deadliest American shooting massacre since Sandy Hook. That's how taking place in school in Robb. Second through 4th grade. It's a small city in San Antonio. All right, so this has all kind of political. The gunman, who authorities identified as, he was 18, who had attempted so he was 18 years old. He was attended a nearby high school, was armed with several weapons. He died at the scene. They shot him. He shot and killed horrifically and incomprehensibly, government George Abbott said. He's terrified parents of you on Tuesday wait for the word of their children's safety, and enforcement officially raced to piece together how the massacre had transpired. The mass shooting was why, depending on the national political debate over guns. Okay, so they're already getting into the politics of it. 10 days earlier, a gunman fatally shot 10 people inside of Buffalo. Okay, this is just evil. Okay, so there's already governors and statesmen and women already talking about the whole thing of taking guns away. But if you do, you're going to have a civil war. His nephew was in the school when the shooting took place, but he was safe. Okay, he was waiting to hear back. Okay, so this has got some across the street. The state troopers were scattered across the lawn. The ambulance. Okay, flashing. Adolfo Henderson, a longtime UVAD, I'm not even saying that right, Uvalde resident, said his nephew had been in the classroom there. Okay, he actually witnessed his little friend getting shot in the face, Mr. Henderson said. Okay, in a brief, I'm just trying to skim through this. President Biden is emotional. It's just sick, yada yada, backbone of courage. I'm trying to find out why this kid primary runs off that was set the stage. Deadly toll becoming known as a. All right, so yeah, they're talking about legislation and how Linda Martinez Delgado said that their niece, Martina, a teacher of fourth grade, was among those who had died in the rampage. Miss Morales had been a teacher for 17 years old, her aunt said, and was very loved. So he shot a teacher an older woman, and took pride in teaching, Mrs. Delgado said. All right. There's more to read. I'm just trying to skim through it to get certain details. Okay, whether the shooting took place. Okay, so they don't know whether the shooting took place in one classroom or several. That's what I was trying to find out. The details, like where did he enter into the building? Was there any security there? Did anybody try to stop him? He had several weapons. Where did they run to first? They haven't released the age of the students. Well, the gunman who had identified Salvatore Ramos, that's his name, targeting the school, whether he ended up there by chance or according to law enforcement officials. They want to know if he ended there by chance. Who requests and well, maybe you shouldn't have killed him. And the investigate the caution was still unfolding. The gunman appeared. He had so he had a beat up pickup. He crashed the pickup through a barrier of the school before heading inside. The official said, okay, so they do have an entry point. At this, two law officials appear to have been injured in the shooting. Okay, so he shot two cops, or they were injured in the shooting. And let me not say that. Neither seriously. Okay, they weren't seriously injured. Shortly before the massacre, a 66-year-old woman was airlifted to the okay. With a gunshot. So he was shooting old ladies too. Officially said that the woman appeared to have been the gunman's grandmother. What? Shortly before. Okay, so this guy shot his grandmother before he went and shot up the school, and she was airlifted to a hospital. She's 66 years old. Grandmother, and had been shot before the shooting at the school. Both shootings and the connection between them remain okay. It's starting to become a little clear. I can't read your comments if you said anything because I'm reading this. The shooting took place just 11 a.m. in the afternoon. Spread. His parents were instructed to just stay away from the school. Please do not pick up kids at this time. Okay. Parents are scrambling information as a shooter. Realized that so many children had been killed. Okay. Fourth grade, Ralph Elementary. Showed up at school. Reunification point. All right. And there's more. But, okay. I was trying to skim through it to find some detail that would give me a clearer Yes, yes, he was 18. Thank you very much. I just had to go and look it up, and you know what I'm saying, because you guys want me to talk about something, but you know what I'm saying, if I'm in the dark, like really in the dark, I can only expound on what has happened before that and what I think will happen again. And the last time we talked about this, which was not too long ago, if you listen to that 2 hour video, you're going to hear me say this is going to happen again. You're going to hear me say it. It's going to happen again. It's going to keep happening. Now, here's what's interesting about the last shooting, mass shooting that happened in, I think, Buffalo. The security guard that came out of, the store to confront, another 18-year-old with an assault rifle, he was actually he actually was heavy into science. He used to be a police officer, as a black man, used to be a police officer, and he retired from the police force. He was just a guard there, just holding it down, at the grocery store, just because he liked being a cop. But the big thing about that guy was he was a science nerd. He was able to make his car run off of water. Now we all know that's a very, very dangerous thing to do, is make your car run off of water and then show it on social media. He was one of the people who died in last week's shooting. I told you guys before there's an agenda behind this. Now, when I'm reading about all the politicians who are getting involved, there are all in an uproar. And of course, they've been saying this for the longest time, talking about taking away the guns. Well, guns are how you pretty much made America. I mean, America promoted killing, people at random, and they still do it in on mass around the world. So, I mean, good luck trying to get people's guns out of their hands. I mean, they're going to Charlton Heston you. They're going to say, out of my, cold hands, it's just not going to happen. I'll read some of your comments. He was supposed to be 18. Yeah, he was an 18-year-old. He gunned down his grandmother. Yes, he did, before he went to the school. And let's stop right there. Now, him gunning down his grandmother and her being airlifted, the grandmother hopefully is still alive. She's 66 years old. This reminds me of another shooting that happened some years ago, and you guys might not recall it, but this family pissed this guy off. He was an older gent, probably in his 30s. And I don't remember the story vividly, but I remember seeing some segments on it. His family pissed him off, so he gunned them all down right in the house. And then he went down to some other relatives' house and he walked in and he gunned them all down and he killed the baby. So yeah, he just went off. Now they're making it seem as if this guy just went off the handle because of something that happened at home. That's where this is leaning so far for me. Something happened with this guy, this 18-year-old, who couldn't keep his emotions in check, started hearing voices and looked and, picked up several guns. First they said he had a handgun, then they said he had a handgun and a rifle. Now they're just saying he had several weapons. So at this point, we don't know how many weapons he did have, but it looked like he was prepared for a fight. And I'm just going to say it, he was prepared to shoot at the cops. The difference between this shooting and the shooting last week is last week's terrorist was not prepared to shoot at the cops. When the cops showed up, he laid down his arms, put his hand up in the air, and they didn't even draw on him. They just put him in the back of the car and pretty much treated him like they did Dylan Roof. They took Dylan Roof to Burger King before they locked him up, without a scratch. This guy, it sounds like he, started busting shots at the police. For one, they said that there were 2 police that were hurt. It doesn't say that he hurt them, but anytime a police officer is hurt, the police go into, overkill, and they don't care what's in the way. And we know this because of the UPS driver whose van was hijacked in California, and they were, driving down the road with the UPS guy still in it. When the cops caught up to the UPS truck, they shot the UPS guy. and they shot the guy who, took the van, and then they shot two other people. One of them was an old guy. They killed like five people, and then they said, "Oh, you guys are just being emotional." When they said, "Wait a minute, you killed like five people," they say, "You guys are just being emotional." That's the way the police just blew it all off. Like, you're being emotional. So we know when their blood is up, they're going to kill anything that they can. We know this, because the Christopher Dorn case too, where he was driving around a particular truck. This is a guy who went and shot at police. He used to be a police officer, and that Christopher Dorn didn't have a truck that was unique to him. So when they saw two black women driving a truck similar to it, the police ran up and shot the two black women in a truck and didn't apologize about shooting them. Okay, so there's that. Now, if you're in a mass shooting and you raise your weapon, even if it's a pencil to a police officer, that's pretty much it. So let me see where you're talking about. I was willing to wait until tomorrow to talk about that. That way it would have been more information for us. Well, we can still talk about it tomorrow because remember when I pulled up school shootings, mass shootings from 2012 all the way up to now, and there was pretty much a mass shooting every year, and sometimes 2, 3 times a year. This is a topic that's not going away. Once again, there's going to be another one soon. And there's a few reasons why I believe there's going to be another one soon. Because of the agenda of the politicians. The agenda of the politicians seems to be to try to neuter Americans. They're trying to take the ability to protect themselves away, from themselves. They want to be able to come to your house and, barge in your house and do whatever on a no knock warrant. We've seen this happen several times, and them able to, go home and to their wives while you're laying there dead. We've seen that happen twice this year to two guys who had nothing to do with the case, but they ran up in their house and gunned them down. Breonna Taylor, same thing, ran up in her house, gunned her down. So, these are success stories for them. Hey, we still got, some kind of criminal. Turns out that who they were looking for, Breonna's house, didn't even live there. And they were talking about there was drugs in her house or packages were being sent. Turns out that none of that was true. Even the post office said that's just not true. There are not packages being sent there. They went in there anyway, ablazing, and blew her to pieces 28 times. So we're seeing a buildup of some kind of movement that is against the American people. So these do not surprise me whatsoever. They said there hasn't been one this terrible since Sandy Hook. They compare a lot to Sandy Hook. But the reason why they compare this is because of the age of the children that were allegedly killed in the Sandy Hook massacre. People have their doubts, about the whole Sandy Hook thing, but there is just no doubt that the frequency of mass shootings, to me, is no mistake. And I said this before a couple days ago when we talked about the other mass shooting. If you, if any of you statistic nerds out there start putting together the numbers and start gathering samples like a real statistic, gather samples and formulate it in numbers, you can figure out when the next mass shooting is going to be. You could probably almost pin it down to what state. And I'm not joking. Listen, this is, if you take from 2012 all the way up to now and you put that in some type of statistical formulation, you can start making, you can get a hypothesis on when this is going to happen again. And it's a good chance that you're going to be pretty close to right. And if you really get deep into it, you'll probably be able to figure out who it's going to be. Listen, the last two shooters were both what? Male, and they were how old? 18. Now, if we look at the guy that went and shot all those Asian people, he was in his young 20s. So he was a white male. He dressed in a militant style. He used an automatic rifle, not an automatic rifle. It could have been automatic, but it wasn't. It was a semi automatic rifle. He dressed in battle dress uniforms, military style. Uh, I don't know if this guy did that. I don't think he did. But nonetheless, what I'm saying is there are some similarities to this. There's similarities to this, and some genius can sit down and figure this out. And I guarantee you'll be able. It'll be like Minority Report. You'll want to stop it before it happens. But let's just throw out some numbers. I mean, it's what this is. I mean, the blood isn't even dry from the last one. It isn't even dry. You know what I'm saying? People are still mourning the last shooting, and they can't believe it. You know, the people who lived are still in the hospital in critical condition. And now we have another one, and their children? No. There's no way this is not planned. There's no way there isn't some kind of agenda. There's no way this can't be statistically proven. It's just happening too often. And when you have frequency, uh, there is a way to figure out when it's going to happen again. That's just a statistical truth. Am I saying that somebody pushed this kid to do it? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying this kid didn't act on his own. I'm saying the last kid didn't act on his own. These two are high schoolers. They're high schoolers now. They're not acting on their own. They're not going, mom, told me to take the garbage out. Boom, I'm going to shoot up a bunch of younger children. I'm going to crash through a barricade in a beat up truck, and I'm going to run in there and shoot a bunch of children that I don't know. I'm upset. I mean, just listen to how ridiculous it sounds to somebody with a rash. For one, it's ridiculous that you even did this. But let's just take the reasoning. Let's just take this reasoning. I'm upset at grandma. I shoot grandma. So I'm already off the hinge. But then I don't go to a high school where there's for sure somebody you don't like. There's somebody in every high school that don't like somebody. Heck, there's people in my high school I still don't like. But I ain't got no urge to go and gun them down. But if you're going on a tangent, that type of demonic tangent, you know what I'm saying? You're probably not thinking too straight anyway, but how off the rocker do you have to be to say, I'm going to go to an elementary school because it was in my path. It was on my way to somewhere. And you know what? There are a bunch of kids in here. They're not at recess. They're not outside. I'm going to walk into the school and I'm going to start shooting people inside of this elementary school. This kid was well aware that this was an elementary school because he goes to the high school not too far from it. He probably, listen, this is a small town. No, there's a lot more to this that hasn't been said. This is a very, very small town. Everybody probably knows this kid. They know this kid. He went and shot a teacher, an elementary school teacher too, and 2 other adults, according to what they're saying. That number is probably going to go up because first it was 14, now it's 18 people are gone. So by the end of the day, heck, it could be 25. We don't know. And then we don't know who got in the crossfire between him and 5-0. Yeah, like I said, when 5-0 shows up and you start busting caps at them, listen, somebody else gets killed. And that's just that. And then they blame it all on, the initial person who started the brouhaha. I'm just trying to tell you, this is no accident. None whatsoever. This is not a kid who lost his mind because he couldn't get a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. This right here was something that had this is some pre-programmed nonsense. This is some MK Ultra. I mean, I probably lost all of you on that, but you know what I'm saying. All right. So the last, idiot that went and killed a bunch of people, who is still alive, by the way, he wrote a manifesto. He was getting a lot of misinformation instead of looking it up himself. He was getting a lot of misinformation from where? The internet. The internet. The guy who shot the Asian people, where do you think he got his information from? The internet. He was upset because of the virus. So this is why a lot of Asian people were being attacked. You know, so they got it from the internet. Those are both racially motivated. This situation is different because it's in a small town in San Antonio. Good chance the majority of them were of his race. Okay, so let me back up the train a little bit and let's look at the similarities of all three of these shootings. Let's just do that. Let's do that. White guy, 20 something, BDUs, battle dress uniforms, military style, assault rifle, goes and shoots up agents. He went to 3 different stores to shoot up these agents, right? Boom. White guy, battle dress uniforms, Army BDUs, assault rifle, goes and kills 10 black people, shoots 2 white people, and apologizes to one white guy before he was going to shoot him. All right. So we got racially motivated. A Hispanic man, 18 years old, goes out and shoots up a bunch of kids out of elementary school in a small town in San Antonio where we could assume that a good amount of them were probably of his race. How are all three of these similar? Again, race. The white man, and I've talked about this over and over and over and over. The white man has been in fear since Ben Franklin, who talked about the same subject, how they were not going to be the superior race. The numbers that Ben Franklin were coming up with back then, according to what he knew, and looking at the way, okay, let's go back a little further. The Egyptians, just hang on. The Egyptians saw the Jews, the black Jews, come out of Mesopotamia, enter into Africa. And when they saw this, they saw how the Jews multiplied. They saw how quickly they grew. They saw their numbers just start dividing and dividing and dividing and dividing. And they were just like, wow, there's so many of them. So they took them and put them into captivity. And they said, well, heck, we're going to use them as a fighting force, a building force, slavery, so on and so forth. Let's bring that forward today. Or back in when Ben Franklin was, looking at the same thing. When they went and got the Africans off of the Ivory Coast, 20 million of them off the Ivory Coast, and they spread them all over the Americas, South America, and so on and so forth, they started to notice that they have children in larger numbers than any other race. Any other race. You go look at the people in Brazil, All the Africans, there were more Africans that were brought there than were here. Go look and see how many of them are there. Good luck finding somebody who's pure anything other than Brazilian. There'll be tourists. Over here, the African Americans, same thing. So for the longest time, they've been trying to quell our numbers, separate us, get the father out of the house to stop him from dropping seed into the mother, because the mother's fertile. The father is still able to have children up to 60, 70 years old. That's still happening today. It's still happening today. There are some people walking around who got brothers that are in their 50s and they're 13, 14 years old. One of them is DC Young Fly. DC Young Fly's older brother is 66 years old or 60. Yeah, I think somewhere around 60 something years old. Go and look it up. He talks about it. Says, yeah, I got a uncle, brother, or whatever he calls it. Because of the ability of the African American and or the Jew, not Jewish, Jew. Because of the ability that we have to spawn in mass numbers so quickly, there has always been a fear of takeover. So us as as Black people, we're not the only ones that they fear. They fear anyone that can come and take over. Anyone that can come and take over their position in any shape, form, or fashion. Now, there are 40 million Black people here in America. There are 245 million white people here in America. There are 60 million Hispanic people, but that is going up exponentially. I have to look at those numbers again because they keep just pouring into America. I mean, they just keep pouring in. I'm sure that number is way higher than that now. Yeah, he has a grandfather brother. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But you get what I'm saying. So these mass shootings, these just sudden mass shootings. Listen, if it's not when Black people go out and commit mass shootings, they killing other Black people. They're killing other Black people. It's usually some idiot with a handgun or whatever they call them, sticks or whatever now, spraying up a whole spot for whatever reason. Then you'll find out that it's gang related or some other stupidity. Their agenda is different. It's usually hatred of themselves. When I look at these mass shootings, I go, this kid did not hate those elementary students. He didn't run in there and gun down 14, 15, whatever, and go, I'm going to kill some, what, third, fourth graders, whatever. I don't even know what grade it is. I'm gonna go in there and knock those guys off because I didn't get, to go to, to the high school ball or whatever. Some girl turned me down, whatever. No, I think there's something more deep to this. And some things we'll never know, and some things that we will know. I mean, the guy's dead, so he can't speak for himself. And I'm not sorry that he's dead. I'm just saying he's usually when it's somebody who is not white, they're killed. When it's usually a white person, they're apprehended. We've seen this over and over and over again. Even some that have shot at the police and shot the police, they've been apprehended. Apprehended. They're not dead. They're still alive. I heard one woman say, "Why is this guy still alive?" She's a white woman. She was like, "Why is he still alive?" And I think that person killed a police officer. They were said to be second and third. Okay, yeah. See, I don't have anything to do with kids, so I don't know. I don't know what age they are when they go into schools now. I'm so far removed from that. But yeah, there it is. Second, third, and fourth graders. There's no way this kid knew who he was shooting. That's for one. And so he didn't have a beef against these kids other than something that was pre-programmed before he shot his grandmother. Now, if we really want to get to it, we got to find out, why did he shoot his grandmother? Why did you shoot a 66-year-old woman? There's an agenda here, and it's starting to play itself out. It's starting to become more and more obvious. The the propensity for this guy, is that the right word? Propensity? I think it is, maybe. But let me say this, the likelihood of this guy going to an elementary school and gunning down those students like that, to me, just seems unlikely, unless he was motivated to do it by an outside force. That's what I'm saying. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether he looked on the internet and said, hey, do this. I don't know what voices was in his head. I don't know what music he listened to. I don't know if there was some girl that, her mom worked there. There is, it's just the likelihood of him doing it is not clear to me just yet. Now, there might be some connection that caused him to go in there and shoot those teachers. I have no idea what that connection is. Uh, if you guys find out, let me know. But right now, I have no idea what that connection is. Uh, but there might have been somebody in the school that knew him or knew of him in some shape, form, or fashion. Maybe he had a little cousin that went there or something. Something drew him to that elementary school, and I don't think it was by accident. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you're just driving and boom, in elementary school? No, there's something that led you there. Because, like I said, usually teenagers are mad at teenagers. They're not mad at second, third, and fourth graders and then their teachers. Usually they go and gun down somebody who's their age. They're upset at them about something. So we don't know. Uh, Maybe I will talk about it again tomorrow. Right now, we're kind of in the dark. We're really in the dark. Um, every news outlet has this story by now, and I'm sure they're investigating everything. But you usually don't get to the crux of it all until, to me, about a week or two later. And the reason why that is because of the feds. The feds start digging into your computer. That's what they do. And they look into your phones. The local police, not so much. They can subpoena that stuff, but the feds go ahead and start cracking your firewalls. And once the feds start looking at it, what they're looking for is the same thing, statistics. They're looking for things that connect you to some type of force that would convince you that to go ahead and do this. So it could be an occult, it could be a broken heart. Um, I mean, it could be abuse of some type, somebody. So they're going to start looking and seeing, did the grandmother ever abuse this boy when he was younger? Was she diddling the boy, and the boy, you know, had enough of it and said, bang, I'm going to go ahead and do grandmother in? Things are possible. You know what I'm saying? The Menendez brothers, you guys remember that case? They blame knocking off their parents on being diddled by the parents. So let's not act like it's just not something that doesn't happen. So, like I said, I like to hear what the feds have to say because once they start, ringing some truths that transform, then you get a real idea of the whys and wherefores. Other than that, you're just kind of, going along with whatever the news is saying. And a lot of time, mainstream news is just covering the story because of it leads. They're just doing it for the numbers. They're not doing it because, to me, they care. They're doing it because it's the hottest thing out there. It's the news is the epitome of social media. You know what I mean? So they'll put stuff out there just to get their numbers up and keep their ratings up. Try to stay ahead of the next person, but they're not going to wait until the you know they're not going to wait so much until an autopsy, and then, what I'm saying, they're not going to do that. They're not going to tell you how many bullets have been, they're not waiting on ballistics. They're going to tell you the story as soon as it happens, as soon as they can. And then they might brush up on the story, but about that time something else has happened, so it won't be lead story so much, not unless Nancy Grace gets a hold of it, you know, and something like that. But or Young Turks or one of those guys. Young Turks, Young Turks to get the scoop, and they'll, as it goes along, Young Turks will tell you, this is what happened. So that's a good outlet to listen to, because they're going to keep telling you what happened. They're going to go, last week we reported on this. This is what we found out this week. It's kind of what you want to know, because it's just they're following the case, and there's not a lot of flash and fluff there. They're just going to say, this is what we know. And you can go and reference, because they're usually going to tell you where they found this information. And it's not going to be from the news. They're going to say a BCI report. You know, you can go look up somebody's BCI report, yada, 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 and probably give you a link to it in the description. So, uh, there's a lot, like I said, we don't know. We don't know where his parents were during the time. We don't know if he just lived with his grandmother. We don't know what the grandmother said to him. We automatically think the grandmother's innocent. I don't do that anymore. Yeah, it is ridiculous. I don't go, oh, the grandmother's 66, she's innocent. No, I don't do that. I wait to hear what's said, and then I go, okay, the grandmother was innocent. Or the grandmother used to beat him with a switch and he got tired of it. Grandmother got old, he got, strong. And, she raised the belt to him one time too many and hit him with it, and he came out the room and knocked her on her ass with a 44. Okay? Things happen. So I don't know, is what I'm saying. But something sent this guy over the edge. Another thing is, we don't know if this guy was an incel. Now, reason why I bring up incel is because we know there was a shooting that involved an incel. This guy, uh, I talked about him last video about this. I forgot what state it was, but I remember seeing him and listening to his video uh, before he went and committed this crime. He was talking about how girls don't want him. Now, this was a young, maybe 20-year-old guy. He was a good-looking kid. He was sitting in a uh, BMW 5 Series. It's like, get over yourself. You, I mean, you got a lot going for you. It just hasn't happened yet. I mean, come on. Some of us, we don't have all of those privileges you have. You're upset because one girl didn't like you. Hey, brother, listen. If that's gonna piss you off, you just might as well go ahead and turn yourself in and just sit in jail for the rest of your life, because women are gonna piss you off. We all get rejected. Okay, we all do. It hurts, but This is why there's more women on the planet than there are men. Because there's some chick out there who's not going to tell you no. She's going to be like, you want to go out? Let's go. Let's go. Let's do this. All right. It's the way it is. Now they're saying 19. What did I tell you? That number's going to keep going up. It's going to end up at like 25 or something, 23 to 25. It's going to keep going up. Look, they're still finding bodies. They're still finding bodies. It's just going to keep going up. And we're assuming that what they're telling us is true. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, so we don't know if this kid was an incel. We don't have that information. But like I said, once the FBI goes and start looking at his computer, they're going to look at his friends. They're going to look at his friends' phones. They're going to look at anything they can get a hold of, and they're going to try to find out some type of rhyme or reason, because right now it doesn't make any sense why he would go to that school. And the way they said it, it was like, stopping by Kroger's when you were, because Winn-Dixie was, one block too far. They made it seem like he was going to go shoot up his own school. But he happened to pass by the elementary school and then drive through a barricade. No. You didn't just happen to. No, you went and drove through that barricade on purpose because there was something in there that made you feel like if you go and do this, you're going to fulfill your mission. Somebody in that school knew that kid. And that person, hopefully is alive. But that kid went in there looking for someone. He did. There was an agenda. They're going to find that out once they start digging through phones and computers. And I guarantee you there's some connection somewhere. Somebody was talking to this kid. Somebody was talking to this kid, and they've been talking to him for a minute. And it's not going to be some mysterious, guy, just encouraging him with a deep voice like Anonymous. It's not going to be. It's going to be somebody who lives around his way. And it could be a woman. A girl can send a boy over the edge quick. We know this because there was a girl who she ended up in criminal court. She's probably going to end up in civil court too if it hasn't happened already, because she told her boyfriend to kill himself. And he did. So we know that emotions in men, especially boys, can be manipulated by girls, because that is a very awkward time for boys. Because boys want to be liked. They want to be the cool kid. They want to kiss a girl. They want to say, this is my girlfriend. They want to come home and brag to their parents, and especially to their peers. Peer pressure is a killer. So, yeah, this is the time that boys are pretty much, in my opinion, are the most fragile. This is the time when a male is the most fragile in high school. Anything can go topsy-turvy in high school. College, not so much. You can pretty much be a loner in college, but in high school, where you see that person every day, where you can get laughed at or you can get laughed with. Yeah, they want to be noticed, and it's the way it's supposed to be. It's peacocking. Guys want to be known for something cool. If you're not good looking, you want to be strong. If you're not strong, you want to be rich. If you're not rich, you want to have some type of talent. You want something where the girls say, this guy's all right. And hopefully, the popular girls know you, at least know you and like you. They don't necessarily have to be, a part of your dating repertoire, but they like you. Okay, as for me, I remember when I had my best game in college or best game in high school. Had the best football game I ever had. I broke a record. and the most tackles in one game. I mean, I went out there, I did my thing, I had a fumble recovery, everything. Boom. I was on point. My mom was there and everything. Like it was just a great day for me. That fumble recovery hurt though. But nonetheless, I had a great game. I got noticed. Penn State sent me a letter because of that game. And you want to be attractive. Yeah. So I got noticed, and there was a school party after that in the gym. And I'm, dancing or whatever. And the popular chick said something to me. I remember her name was Christine. And she walked up to me and she said, "That was a nice game you had." And was looking at me right in the eyes. And I froze. When I tell you she was the it girl, she was it. She wasn't a prom queen, but she was the it girl. She's the girl that all the football players liked. She was just hot. And she was a damn good tennis player. And when she never spoke to me before or after that day, but she noticed me because I had a good game of football. I ain't gonna say it made my evening or my year or anything, but it's just something I never forgot. And then I ran off like a scared child because it was, let's just say, my level had went up in realms that I didn't even know. Slippery Rock also sent me a letter because of that game. I got noticed by a lot of important people just because I got to the ball first 8 times. Was it? I was just playing the game. But you go out there and you play a good game. Here come the women. That's just that. Here they come. Here come the coaches. Here comes money. Here it comes. And it hits you fast. And you're in high school. Here it comes. Are you ready? Good chance you're not. You don't have somebody else that's famous and been through that's in your life, an older brother or sister. Good chance you're not. Especially if you're a poor kid like me. Boom. And I messed it up because I didn't know what to do with any of that information. I never answered the letters. The point is, males are very fragile in high school. And if they're not guided by someone, I mean, when I say guided, I mean watching what you eat. They're watching the friends you hang around. They're watching the girls who are trying to get in your pants. If somebody is not on your ass like that, then you could slip off into the darkness somewhere and things can go awry very quickly. That's what happened to this young man. That's what happened. We don't know if he was in a gang, if he was trying to do some initiation. We don't know. And I'm just, we don't know. So we'll find out uh, within the next week. And if you guys want me to do a update, if you just want me to expound on it, I will. You'll probably know just as much information as I do. But if you just want to talk about it, just get it out. Or if you just want to listen to somebody talk about it and, I don't know, take from it what you want. It's hard to imagine. And for people who are like me, who have nobody else in their life, immediately to talk to, it's not such a bad thing to hang out with somebody and go, what, I just want to know if somebody feels the way I feel about this, or if somebody is thinking, somebody is putting together 2 and 2 and going, am I the only one that thinks that this is no accident? You come to my channel and you're going to find out that no, You are not alone. You know, I welcome the conspiracy. You know, if it's grounded, if it has some grounds to it, it's not so much a conspiracy to me. It's just a truth that hasn't been fully revealed. That's what it is to me, and that's what this is now. So it's the middle of the year. It's not even June yet. I'm gonna say with all of the war, and the support of Ukraine and the 20,000 troops that went over there and the promotion of violence that America is involved with, I'm going to say there's going to be another mass shooting. I give it in 2 weeks. I'm just tossing it out there. I'm going to say let's just do that. It's a terrible thing, isn't it? It's a terrible thing to sit here and say there are going to be random people killed by some random guy. They're going to be slaughtered broad daylight by some guy. We know this is going to this is a terrible thing to admit. We know it's going to happen. But that's where we're at now. Now we're just trying to pick a state because we can pretty much pick what color they're going to be. Who they're going to strike, we don't know. But we know that there are three. We know that now that there are three major races that are in the crosshairs. We know it's Black, Hispanic, and Asian. We know that all three of those races in the crosshair. We're not talking about India. We're not talking about people from India. We're not talking about any European. We're talking about Black, whites, Hispanics. One of those three are going to be targeted in another mass shooting 2 weeks from now by a white male. I'm just going to put it out there. A white male is going to be, sorry, my back hurts. A white male is going to be in between the age of 18 to, I'm going to say 25, but no, I'm not even going to do 25. I'm going to say 18 to 21. Maybe. I don't even want to do 21. I just want to go 18 to 20. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to go 18. I'm going to drop that down. I'm going to go 17 to 20. 2 weeks from now, somewhere in America, well, I don't know. Let's pick Minnesota. Let's just pick somewhere. Let's go Minnesota. Let's not go Minneapolis, because if something happens in Minneapolis, it's usually what? Black on black. Let's not do that. Let's go to Chicago and say, nah, it's not going to happen in Chicago, even though there will be several people shot in Chicago, but it'll be black on black. So that's not what we're talking about there. I can do that. Yeah, I don't know. Let's do that. I don't know. Let's go to Seattle or somewhere like that. Seattle, right? Let's go to Seattle. Let's say the shooter's going to come from Seattle. No, to Seattle. Going to live in the outskirts of Seattle somewhere. Is going to come into the city. Mass shooting. We're going to go. How many people are we looking now? Isn't this a shame? This is a damn shame, isn't it? Because we're doing statistics. We're looking at what has happened and we're guesstimating what will happen. And we're going statistically, it's a white male between 17 to 20. They have an assault rifle. And they're, you can start, putting the numbers together and say this, and then, pick a place. So I'm going to say Seattle. And I'm going to say 12 people are shot and 6 or 7 of them are deceased. And we're not going to say they killed black people. No. We're going to say Asians. We're going to say Asians. We're just going to guess. Asians. We know that there's a black population in Seattle. We know this. But when we start looking at the last shooter, he traveled 2 hours to go where there was a black population. Yeah, Asians. There it is. It's just what I think. Now, of course, I'm hoping this never happens because I don't have anything against Asians. You know, I mean, I'm not happy about what the Chinese did to the black people, but do I wish them harm? No, I just, think that was some racist stuff they did. But they didn't, go out and do anybody in. They just kicked them all out of their place. So I don't, I hope they get sued. I hope every landlord who's, kicked those people out has to pay out their, out the yin yang for kicking those people out, trying to say that they're the ones who started CV or who were spreading it, which was ridiculous. They got that report from here in America, in New York. They were saying that the black people in the projects are spreading CV. So the people over there where it came from in China kicked all the black people out of their apartments and said, "You guys are the you guys are the one who are magically delicious." It is because you're black. You have, the propensity to spread CV, which was nowhere near the truth. It was because they were in a densely populated area. That was it, because they were in the projects. But they said oh no, it was the black people who are spreading CV, but you guys are the ones who created it. So I mean, that's an issue I have with them, you know. But yeah, I'm just throwing that out there. Uh, we just got to wait for the rest of the information about what this is all about. But like I said, you guys can put the numbers together. You're going to start seeing similarities with all these mass shootings. And you're going to see the ramp up of the political people. My dinner got cold, who are trying to capitalize off of the rhetoric that assault rifles are dangerous. Well, what about handguns? Are handguns dangerous? What about bow and arrows? What about a compound bow? No? And then what particular handgun or what particular rifle? What are we looking at? A 223s? Are they like, which ones are the most dangerous? Like, you coming to get all variations of the M16 or just one variation of the M16, the one with the sight on it? The one that Bushmaster makes. So what about Windsors? Are you going to come and take the single loaded World War II? Like, what are they going to do? Because there are a lot of guns on the streets. I mean, Chicago police. Chicago police were and still are notorious for putting guns literally on the street. One guy said we would come outside and look on the block and they'd be sitting right there on the curb in a crate. We just go over there and there'd just be a bunch of guns there, bunch of loaded guns. You wonder why all that death is happening in Chicago? Here's your answer. There, when the people start tearing up the country because of the George Floyd, they quickly noticed that the police were damaging their own vehicles and writing F the cops on the side of the vehicles. Why would they do that? Why would they do that? Because there's an agenda. They want it to be bad so they can have an excuse to come and take your weapons. That way, it's easier for them to control you. Now, you can say that I'm wrong all you want. But while you're saying I'm wrong, please explain to me why they would damage their own weapons. And they knew that the weapon of choice for the protesters were what? Rocks. So the police put a bunch of rocks out there by vehicles so the people can come and throw rocks at the vehicles. Please explain that to me. Why would the police want this? Why would they put themselves in danger like that? I want somebody to explain that to me because I don't get it. Other than one reason. You're setting us up. You're setting us up for something big. You're setting us up. Do you know why the Ukraine just got, millions of dollars worth of military equipment? Namely, the howitzer. Ukraine just got enough equipment and shells, enough howitzers and shells to last them for months on end. They got more than they originally had stockpiled. When Ukraine started fighting, they were fighting with stuff from World War II. Their tanks were from World War II. Their guns that they had set up for long range, over, 5-6 mile, those weapons, they were from World War II, meaning they did not have any connection to any satellites. So it was just pretty much guesstimate, boom, fire. Now, they got stuff that's computer, boom, they can see where it is, bang, hit the target. They got howitzers now. That's from us. The name's from Germany, but we're the ones who make them. You know why they got the other equipment? Because America had them stockpiled. We just had it sitting around. That's why Ukraine has all that stuff. America has a surplus of dangerous weapons just sitting around. Their budget was $56 billion. $56 billion. The stuff that Ukraine is using is not new. The stuff that they have now that we just sent over there, and Joe's like, yeah, we're going to send you some stuff. That stuff's not new. That's not the newer stuff. That's not the new stuff would be the Abrams. Now, if they went and started dropping Abrams over there, the new Abrams, the ones with the, the double impact sides, you see what's happening in Ukraine? You know why Russian hasn't been able to, take over Ukraine? Is because of the new equipment that was sent to Ukraine. It was sent by the European nations. It was sent by NATO. They were sending them the law. A law is a hand or a shoulder fired rocket. Ukraine had something like this, but it was all old. Russia went into Ukraine with old tanks. Those tanks can't stand up to the new law. There are two types of law. There's one that's wired control, and there's one that's just shoot and boom, that's it. One person can take one of those things, and they were shooting those planes out of the sky with them. They got the updated versions and was knocking those planes out of the sky, blowing those tanks up, because the law, when it shoots like this, then it goes up and it comes down on top of the tank. Boom. Once that turret blows up, that tank's no good. That's it. America has a surplus of weapons. They're not getting our new stuff. They're not getting the brand new stuff. No, they're not doing that. They're getting stuff that we have stockpiled. We have nothing. We gave $85 million worth of military equipment to our enemy in the Middle East. We left it there and said, we're finished. Can you explain that to me? 85 million. Donald Trump said they have better equipment than most countries. They have new helicopters, tanks, guns, rockets. They gave this to the people who we were hunting in the mountains of Kabul. We were hunting these people down. The same people who the CIA trained. We trained the Taliban. We're the ones who created them. And then we're going to fight them. Then we so-called fight them, right? We so-called win. We train their soldiers. Their soldiers don't want to fight against them. Then the Taliban said, we're gonna take back over. And America says we're going to leave everything. Just boom, we're just gonna leave everything. $85 million worth of military top grade equipment they left to the Taliban. The same people who allegedly blew up the towers. Can you explain that to me? I would love to hear some government contractor break that down, because it makes no sense. Our former president said, he's in the dark. He's like, why? Donald Trump can't understand why they did this. I'm not a big Trump supporter, but I'm with him on that. Why? Why would you give it to our enemies? And then you're going to fly the Taliban here to America. Thousands of them. This is the plan. This is what they're doing. We're going to fly thousands of them. No. You think you've seen mass shootings? You ain't seen nothing yet. You ain't seen nothing yet. You think 18, 19 kids killed in a that's nothing. That's child's play to what's going to happen. You don't start talking about, 400 or 500 people get knocked off at once. Oh yeah, that's going to happen. It's not going to be an assault gun. It's not going to be an assault rifle. It's not going to happen. Mm-mm. It's going to make the Boston Marathon look like the Boston Tea Party. It's going to be, it's going to be, it's going to make that look just like it was nothing. They're bringing the same people who they've been fighting against and my friends fought against. For those of you who are on here who don't know me, I am ex-military. I was in during the Gulf War. I tried to go to war too. My friends went to war. Some of them came back. Some of them got their heads blown off, literally. Some of them lost limbs. Yeah. I was in during Desert Storm, but I couldn't go across the water because I was in a support unit. We had to be the skeleton crew that supported Fort Riley. Fort Riley is the third largest fort here in America. Fort Riley is the fort most notorious for the tanks. And the tank unit is 44 SIG. They are all, and I was a part of Big Red 1. So, but I couldn't leave. I was a 94 Bravo, which is a cook food service. I was attached to a MP unit, and you have to still have an MP unit that's operating on every fort. And one reason is because when war happens and a fort such as ours lets out and everybody goes across the water, which did happen, they emptied out 44 SIG because they needed the tanks. Well, they really didn't, but nonetheless, they wanted to test their tanks. So when that emptied out, yeah, you have less soldiers, but you also have the spouses of the soldiers who left, they'll start roaming around. And then you have cheating that happens. And then you have soldiers who come home and start, finding out their spouse was cheating on them. And then a lot of crazy stuff happens. But that's another story. So you have to have an MP unit. I was attached to an MP unit. There that is. But I'm saying that all this is no accident. This is some type of weird ramp up. If you look at it holistically, these school shootings and these mass shootings are not by happenstance. They're orchestrated, and I don't know how they're being orchestrated, but they are orchestrated. It just doesn't look. It doesn't make sense to us why somebody would want to kill children. But what it does do is it sensationalizes. It puts you in. It puts you into your hypersenses. It gets you in the gut. You can see an adult die, and you can go, you know what? They were 40. They lived. R.I.P. It's sad the way you went out, but it was 40. And, they had a good one. They were married, had kids. They were just in the wrong place, the wrong time. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that happens, which shouldn't even happen. But when you're talking about second, third, and fourth grade kids, you you can't you can't justify it in any shape, form, or fashion because you know these kids didn't do anything to deserve being shot. And the one guy said he said his son saw one of the kids being shot in the face. If you read that report, he said he shot him in the face. Nope. No. This is not an accident. This is not an accident. No. No way. Once again, these are probably people who knew him. This is a small town in San Antonio. A small town. These kids knew him. These kids knew him. He knew them. Their relatives know each other. Hell, they might even be related. It doesn't add up. Not yet. Wait until the feds get the information. If they release all of the information to the public and we can get it unskewed. Thank you, babe. If we can get some unbiased, I wish he was still alive. Even though he deserved, he got what he deserved. But I wish he had a chance to. I just wish we could hear it from him, is what I'm wishing. I'm not in his favor whatsoever, but I wish we could hear him say why and then sift through that information. Instead, we have to wait on autopsies. We have to, he had a handgun, right? We don't know if he used hollow point shells. I don't know what kind of handgun it was. So let's take the most common handgun on the street that criminals use. What's the most common handgun that people are using? Criminals use. You want to know what it is? It's the 9mm. It's not the Glock 40, not the Glock 45. The Glock 40 is known for the police. They use the Glock 40. But most people on the street use 9mm. It used to be the Trey 8, 38 revolver. It's the 9mm. It's the most popular gun, to my knowledge. So we don't know what kind of shells he was using. For those of you who don't know, hollow points make big holes in the back when they come out. So if somebody shoots you in the head, the whole back of your head explodes. They shoot you in the front here, the back, bam, it's all blown out. That's what hollow points do. Hollow points were notorious for being cop killers. Because if they hit you in the chest with one of them, your whole back is going to get blown out. And not in a good way. So back in the 80s and 90s, they were, hollow points, So yeah, we don't know what he had. We know that we don't know if he augmented the weapon. We don't know if it was a augmented 9mm. Hell, these kids get all kind of guns on the street. He could have a Springfield Mac 11. I doubt it, or a Mac 13. Those are handguns. Well, they're held different, but those are automatics. We don't know what he had. He said he had several weapons. You can mow a lot of people down with a Springfield Mac 11 or Mac 13. Click, click, boom. And it's one squeeze. It's coming out. So we don't know what he had. We do know that there are semi-automatic weapons that are on the street, but they are illegal because of this reason. You can mow down a lot of people very quickly. We know that there are modified M16s on the street, and we know that there are AK-47s on the street. And they're modified because the M16 and the AK-47 are both meant to be actually automatic weapons. I mentioned this before. The M16 has 27 rounds and is not notorious for jamming. However, the 9mm is notorious for jamming. The revolvers, so a 45, Smith & Wesson or something like that, is not known for jamming. But we know he didn't have a 45, not a revolver anyway. He could have had a 45, but not a revolver. I think they carry 12 to 13, maybe 17. I'm not sure. Whatever the case, he gunned down a lot of people in a very short time. And he shot somebody in the face. It's just a lot to unpack, you guys. And it's a lot of information that I just don't know. And I can't tie it all together until I find out that information. And you know what? We can say, you know what, Tone? Well, everything you said is BS. That's okay. You can say it's all BS, Tone. You wasted, an hour and 30 minutes just talking BS. This kid was just crazy. The last kid was crazy. The last guy before that was crazy. They're all just crazy people. I would go, yeah, that's one way of looking at it. AR-15, what about it? I go, yeah, you could say they're crazy. That's what they're trying to say the, last shooter was. COVID made him crazy. That's what they're saying. Blame it on COVID. Can't do it. I explained this before. I'll go through it again briefly. You can't get a temporary insanity plea when you're the only sample. Nobody else went crazy because of COVID and killed 10 people and shot 12. Drove 2 hours, stopped at every stop sign, every red light, and then had a conversation with a black man before you committed the crime. And the black man said, I wanted to see if he was a genius. And the news reporter says, was he? And he said, yes. This kid was sane. Very sane. I'm talking about the grocery store shooting. This kid is sane. Can't plead insanity. It'll be thrown right out the window. Any lawyer can take it and pick it apart in 50 different ways. You can't, you're going to bring up emotional scarring, emotional abuse. That usually works when you're a female. Somebody diddled you when you were a kid. Although it happens to, males too, more often than what you think. But usually females bring up the emotional scarring from their past. And that falls apart when you find out that there was no report of the female being, diddled when she was a child. However, some cases have stuck when emotional scarred happened when they were adults. In this case, the one young lady who killed four men, she was a white woman on hair. She was in a car, uh, driving a nice car, and was coming to a red light, and she hit the gas instead of the brakes. And she did it on purpose. She accelerated, rammed right into the back of a car with four white males in it, killed every single one of them. She got off because her modeling career never got off the ground. So she was emotionally disturbed by it and committed vehicular homicide. 4 counts of it, and didn't do a day in jail. Or these teachers who are, sleeping with 12, 13, 14 year olds. The one woman used the emotional plea. She got convicted. She went to jail for, I think she got convicted of 5 years. I could be wrong, but she went to jail for 6 months. They let her out. She was getting a train ran on her by 5 boys, and she gave them pot and alcohol. And she was married. She pretty much is on probation now, but she pretty much got off. She used this, the emotional plea. Something happened to me when I was a child. This is why I'm acting like this. So, yeah. Yeah, wow. They showed pictures of these guns tied to his Instagram account a few days ago, but they didn't show what he had on him. That's what I'm interested in. He worked at Wendy's. The coworker said he is mostly kept to himself. He was a quiet person. We find that to be the case a lot. A whole lot. So I'm saying that there are certain pleas that we've seen, common to gender. And we've never seen the COVID plea. So this kid who is alive from the grocery store shooting, he's going to have a hard time proving that he was insane. This kid is dead. Salvador, he is dead. He's deceased. But there's going to be hell to pay. Now, here's one thing we didn't mention is the kids that were slain. We assumed because it's in a small town in San Antonio that they are all what? Hispanic. We do know that white and black people are, Hispanic, white, black people, Hispanic, Indian. We know that that school could have been filled with a collage of, different races. It is an elementary school. So usually, especially in 2022, they don't discriminate who can come to their school. And we know that there are, we're starting to see pretty much every race there is in these areas, So we're going to, just make a safe assumption that there might have been one black kid, maybe one white kid. There was a little mixture in there somewhere. It probably wasn't all Hispanic. However, probably the majority were. It's a small town once again. Everybody knows each other. This is the unthinkable. But when you start getting into it, you're like, how many of those kids were black? Who got shot first? Who got shot first and where and with what? And did the first person shot die instantly? How close was he when he shot the first person? So let's say that he busted in the school. There's usually kids in the school hall, right? If you're going to the bathroom or whatever. Who did he shoot first? There's usually adults, teachers going back and forth doing their thing. Did he catch a teacher first? Who did he shoot for? He shot what, 3 adults? Who did he shoot first? And where did he shoot him? How many times did he shoot him? What did he say before he shot them? A friend said he was taunted in school about his clothes and his family's financial. See, here we go. About his family. Okay, so now we're starting to get to it. Now we're starting to get to where some of the anger issues come from. Okay, so he's taunted in school. This, and we already talked about how fragile boys are in high school. I was a poor kid. I got teased. My brothers were poor. My sisters were poor. I got teased. I hate being poor. I used to get a quarter a week for allowance, and then that stopped. We were starving every month. We had to find clever ways to go and get food. I actually had to go outside with a bow and arrow and shoot rabbits. You think I'm lying? I did. We actually went and bought a cheap bow and arrow, and we started hunting down rabbits, squirrels, pigeons. This is in the city. I was hungry. Turtles, crayfish. Yeah, we was killing all them because we didn't have no money. We couldn't go to the store. You know what I'm saying? I was hungry all the time. I still am. I'm still a little messed up from that. Sometimes I won't eat and I got a refrigerator full of food. But I figure if I ate too much, I'm telling you, this is how it messes with you. But I figure if I'm full, something's wrong. This still messes with me. Being full, something's wrong. I live by myself. I can eat as much as I want. I'm not broke. I can order a buffet of food. I'm not broke at all. Sometimes I'll go to bed hungry just because of what happened to me in my childhood. It's anyways, this kid is being teased in high school. Like a lot of us are. Here's the problem. He went to a middle school. Oh, excuse me. He didn't go to a middle school. He went to a elementary school. Was he on his way to high school? I wish we had a roadmap of where this kid's high school is and where his grandmother lived. So we can look and see exactly what his pathing was, and we can tell what his intentions were. Because I'm telling you, he did not intend to go to this school unless somebody sent him there, unless somebody in that school knew him. Some relative of somebody who teased him, maybe his ex-girlfriend's sister, or maybe the girl who turned him down, maybe her sister was in the second grade. He was like, you know what? All right, I got you. Say something again about my clothes. And girls being cute. Ooh, you ugly. Happened to me. They got on me. They got on my nose. They got on my hair, my clothes. They picked me apart in the 8th grade. I wasn't a cool kid until I hit somewhere around the 10th grade. That's when I started hitting my stride. You know why? Because I was good at running. Wasn't because I was good looking. I was a standout in something. I made the coaches look at me in some kind of way. Other than that, I was always angry. I was a very angry child because I was poor and people teased me because I was dark skinned. I got a big nose. It's a very angry child. That stuff sticks with you. People tease me today because of my dark skin. I still revert to, what happened to me as a child. But I'm an adult, so I can't fly off the handle. I just ignore them now. But back then it crushed me because I couldn't change my skin. This kid is poor. He's a kid. He can't change it. I mean, he went and found a job. He's trying. But he can't change the fact that he was born into a poor family. I, I don't know what to tell you. I'm poor. Okay. You ain't got to remind me. Yeah, I think he did. I'm guessing he lived with his grandmother. But what I'm saying is he got teased about something he probably couldn't change or change immediately. And I don't know why people tease people who work at fast food restaurants, especially if you're a child. You're 18, 19, and you have a job. Good on you. Because you're learning responsibility. And it's not going to get any easier. You're going to have to work your ass off just to keep up. So listen, when I pull up to one of these places, I don't become snarky and prideful. Sometimes I give them a tip, especially if it's some young person. I don't go, you work at Burger King. If I pull up the Burger King, which I don't, but if I pull up the McDonald's every now and then, I'm always happy to see them. Always. Hey, how you doing today? Everything all right? Cool. That's what I'll take. All right, thank you very much. You have a blessed day. There's no way I'm going to tease those people about where they work because they're on their feet. They're dealing with assholes every day. Some of them are there long before we get up. The morning shift is cracking at 5 something. They're dealing with bad attitudes. They come home smelling like grease caked all over their skin. They're trying. So, no, I don't get that. But like I said, this kid got teased. I knew he got teased. I was talking about it earlier. I said something happened to him. Something made this kid break. But what made him go to an elementary school? That's what we don't know. See, we can say, okay, grandma, was the nicest woman in the world. She was great. Grandma was great, never yelled at him. She was a sweet old lady. But grandma can't affect what goes on at the high school. High school is a very, very hard time for most people. Even for pretty people. Even for pretty people, they struggle. One of the prettiest girls I ever seen was half Asian, half white. She stood about maybe almost 6 feet. She had a beautiful sister too, and her brother played ball with us. He was in the 10th grade when I was in the 12th. And their last names were Hunter. And we liked the Hunters. White people liked them, black people liked them. They were the only mixed Asian family in our school. You know why we liked the Hunters? Because he had 2 great looking sisters, and their sisters were great people. And Hunter was a cool dude who got on the field and he played good ball. Never had a problem out of him. Never. He played good heads up football. And we liked him. He was a great kid. He was pleasant to be around. And his sisters were just awesome. One of them was in my sister's grade, and the other one was in my grade. And Hunter was right up under me. Yeah. So when I was in the 11th grade, Hunter was in the 10th grade. My sister was in the 12th grade. Well, the sister that was in the 12th grade could have been a model easily. I remember the last time I laid eyes on her. And I used to stare at her because I was like, how can she be this pretty? It's not because of her race, it's just that she was very pretty. And she was always smiling. Always. Every time I saw her in the hallway, because her lockers were not far from mine. Always smiling. Both of them. They were just some smiling ass happy people. Her sister was very pretty. Well, her sister and another woman decided that they wanted to go to a place called Ohioville. Now, this is when I was living in Pittsburgh. So, you got to, drive some ways to get to Ohioville. They were going there to party. So they jumped in I believe it was a Palomino. Anyway, it's rear wheel drive. And on their way back, they were speeding. They lost control of the car. And the sister, who was the passenger, uh, when it hit the guardrail, she died instantly. And the other girl hung on for a little while and then she passed on. And when we heard about this, we heard about it by her younger sister who was in my grade. And she would walk down the hallways and say, don't drink and drive. Don't drink and drive. And that smile that we used to see every day, that was just, even for me, because being an awkward kid that people didn't like, I loved that smile and it was wiped away forever. We gathered around Hunter on a football field. Hunter wasn't the same. He still played ball, but you can tell his older sister was his light, And we understood that because everybody liked her. You know how somebody dies and they go, oh, she was the lighter, or she was just a good person. Everybody who dies is not the great. No, this person was. She was actually, a very influential person. Yeah. Well, I have to tell it again in context. Plus, there are people here who've never been on this channel before. You're here all the time. But I have to put it in context because even the good looking people struggle in high school with something. So when the good looking people who have money struggle, that the people who are average, like the most of us, and or poor, like a lot of us, when you tease them, you can set them off. You can just set them off. High school is a place where people struggle and are trying to find what they're supposed to be in life. So it's easy to derail somebody in high school. And that's what happened to this kid. We just don't know all of the details of why he was derailed and or when it started. Now, the shooting case last week, that kid was already killing animals. He had started to unravel long before he went out and killed 10 people. I'm going to assume that this kid was unraveling too, and this is why he shot his grandmother first. I'm even going to safely assume that his grandmother knew it was coming. This kid was found with several weapons. And according to what you just told me, he had a bunch of them on his Instagram. You can't tell me that his grandmother didn't know. I'm going to say that this kid's probably been running around with weapons since he was 15. Look, it wasn't a matter of if, it was just a matter of when. But we still don't know what made him zig instead of zag and go to the wrong school. He went to the wrong school. Something stopped him from going to the high school. It's just my assumption, but this is what it sounds like. It doesn't sound like second, third, and fourth graders are the ones who got up under your skin and teased you because you were poor. I'm even going to safely say that the majority of people in that city probably are making medium wages. And I would accept that hug 100%. I love hugs. Hugs are great. Hugs are awesome. Hugs can change somebody's life instantly. I appreciate you. I use a lot of stories that happened to me in high school in this video because I feel for the poor person. I feel for the average person. I feel for the struggling, individuals, the uncool, the unpopular. I feel for them. Uh, you know, I didn't become a somebody until maturation. And once that hit, I was faster than everyone else in my school in the race that I competed in. It bring me notoriety. I was in the papers. I wasn't the fastest kid, but I was faster than everybody in my school in that one race. Also, I could swim faster than the fastest kid, and I wasn't on a swim team. It's just something I could do. So athletics helped me out and kept me from, you know, a lot of dangerous situations. Running, I ran everywhere. And I mean that. And I had a good time doing it. I was probably the only person on a football team who would run to the two a days. I ran there, ran home, ran back, ran home. My coach in college, okay, when I was 26, I got a scholarship to run the mile from an HBCU, Talladega. He gave me a partial scholarship. Um, he said, "I'll give you a partial scholarship if you come run for us." I was 26 years old. I ran everywhere. I ran to catch the bus. Sometime I let the buses go, and I'm talking about as an adult. I would race the bus home, and my coach said I was the only person who he didn't have to tell to go out and run. In college, I would run to the bank and I'd run back, and I would beat people there and back. I would run to practice and then I would run back while they would be on the van. And they said, "Yo, coach, do we have to do that?" And he said, "No." He's just like, he's the only person I don't have to tell to run. I ran. I ran. Yeah, they can, bro. Hugs changed a lot of things. So it made me a standout. And once I realized it made me a standout, that's what I utilized to get girls. I tried to impress girls with my speed. Sometime it worked. Sometime it didn't. I was still a corny kid, but some women like athletes. You got to have something in high school. Sometimes the class clown is the one who gets the girl's number. Sometimes the silent guy. But when you're being picked on, it's good to have something. We don't know the details. We'll find out. I want to wait for the FBI. I want to know what they find. And I hope they don't just smear over it and say it was, you know, some teen angst, blah, blah, blah. I'm even guessing that, shoot, there might, like I said, there might be some gang affiliation going on. I don't think he did it for the gang, but he might have been in one. Somebody walking around with that many guns, and or he look. Another thing about gangs. Let's just say this: gangs influence people in different ways. Of course, if you want to be in a gang, you got to do certain things to be in a gang. Things that you might not want to do. Some things you do want to do. Uh, Sometimes you get rejected, and other times they send you on a mission. I don't think a gang sent this kid on a mission. Is not what I'm saying. But what I do think is possible is this kid might have wanted been accepted by somebody, and a local gang in San Antonio might be those somebodies. In high school, there are gangs in high school. If this kid was a quiet and was a loner, maybe not so much an incel, but has all the attributes of an incel, just not claiming to be one, he might have been seeking acceptance by someone, by males, by popular males who, had the cute girl, probably had a car, had some money on them. And they might have said, hey, you can get in with us if you have these things. Do you have a weapon? If he didn't, he probably figured out how to go purchase one. He was loaded with weapons at 18 years old. Let's look at his Amazon account. When did he buy his first weapon? Let's look at his the licensing. Let's look at the law. It says, can you have these weapons at this age? And if they say no, how did he get them? Who bought them for him? Were they illegal weapons or were they legal weapons? Is he an illegal? How long has he been in America? Was he born here? I mean, he went to the local high school, so we're going to say he wasn't an illegal, but it's still possible. Uh, if he wasn't born here, then where did he come from? El Salvador, Mexico, like where? If he came out of Mexico, who was his influence while he was a child in Mexico? If he's living with his grandmother, then where is his mother and father? Are they across the border? We don't know. Who are his idols? If his idol is somebody who is in, the gang life, this thing might be bigger than what we think. Might be bigger than what we think. This thing might be. Listen, it might have just hit that small town. It might have just started. If this kid is a part of what's going on in Mexico, if he's a part of any of the big gangs, or he wants to be a part of them, He walking around firepower like that. If he was a part of any of them or he wanted to be a part of any of them, this has just started. There's going to be more blood. You understand what I'm saying? This is not once again, it's not happenstance. No way. I'm not saying they sent him. I'm saying that he had something to prove. And it might have went south. And that's the case. There's probably a group of 18-year-old boys and girls, but especially boys. There's probably a group of them that are they're all hot. They're all walking around with weapons that they should not have. I mean, we don't know if this kid has been to jail before. Does he have a record? Has he been to juvie? We don't know if he's committed some type of felony before. We don't know, but this just doesn't seem like a cut and dry out of the blue. Something happened before grandma got shot. Somebody was talking in this guy's ear, and there are just so many angles that has to be looked at. Um, but that's what I would do if I was on this case. I would locate the mother and father if possible. Uh, when the grandmother is able to talk, I would talk to her, find out exactly what happened before he shot her. Then, of course, social media, they're already on his social media. But even though our lives are on social media now, there's still a lot going on in the household you don't know until somebody puts it on social media. So once they check his phone records and try to find out, if somebody was literally talking in his ear, we don't know. Once they check his web browser and see what he Googled the most, you don't know. I mean, if he was, if he was Googling, initiations, I mean, it's not going to be cut and dry, but something made him make that right and turn into that parking lot instead of going straight, going through the light, going down about a half a mile and turning into that parking lot. Something made this kid shoot other kids in the face. In front of other kids. The boy said he saw his friend get shot in the face. Now we have to figure out, when we look at that, if we go to the case that happened last week, we can see the video where the guy looks at a white man and a white man falls down, covers his face. He's in clear shot of this kid with a high powered rifle, and he apologizes to him. Then he goes and kills 10 black people. We don't know if this has any racial motivation, but we know that one kid survived who saw another kid get shot in the face. The trench coat mafia, when what is it? What was it? Columbine, right? When they went around shooting, they shot one kid, you know, college student, and he asked, "Why are you going to shoot me?" And the person said, "Because you're black." Made it very clear. That's it. Because you're black. We don't know if this boy picked out black teacher, white teacher, Asian teacher, Indian teacher. We don't know. Well, we do know. We know that she was Hispanic. Uh, but yeah, it's just so much we don't know, and I could speculate all day. But here's one thing I do know: there's going to be another mass shooting. I know it's going to be soon. I'm hoping it isn't, but I know that there is. And if any of you people are connected to any of the authorities, you should have some of your mathematicians on this. Don't just listen to us and then take our information and start looking at us funny. No, listen to what we're telling you. A mathematician can figure this out. And like I said, it'll be like my Minority Report. You can probably stop the next person doing this. The next person who's reading or writing manifestos, you can clearly stop them. Next person who gets, who the police are called out to their place, you know, several times. If they have weapons or not. Usually, because you can look online and see if they have weapons. I mean, if they belong to some of these groups, some of these incel groups, uh, some of these radical left or right groups, uh, any group that has a propensity to go out and do harm to somebody. You guys know these groups. These people aren't hiding under a rock. You know these people. You can look them up the same way you look up other criminal offenders. You can look them up and be like, this guy is racially motivated. This guy is this age, fits right into the category. We know this person has a registered 223, so on and so forth. Just go through the numbers. It's your boy Tone 202. God loves you. I gotta go, you guys. Take it easy. Bye.